What if the most terrifying monster didn't stare with rage or hatred? What if it just smiled at you? No anger, no emotion, just calm, empty eyes like someone who's already seen the end of everything. That's Johan Liebert, a man who doesn't kill for pleasure, revenge, or survival, but simply because he sees no reason not to. He isn't chaos or rage, he's nothing, and that's what makes him terrifying. Behind that smile is someone who truly believes life has no meaning. Morality, love, and truth are illusions people cling to so they don't fall apart. Monster is a Japanese manga series written and illustrated by Naoki Urasawa, and within it, Johan stands as the embodiment of nihilism itself. But he wasn't born that way. He was made. His life began in a eugenics experiment led by Franz Bonaparte, a man obsessed with creating the perfect human. Johan and his twin sister Anna weren't treated as children, but as projects, proof that humanity could be engineered like an equation. His parents tried to escape, but failed. His father vanished, and his mother was forced back into the system. For most kids, love teaches them what it means to be alive. For Johan, that was replaced by control and fear. Growing up without identity, without comfort, he learned one truth early: when you're born to be perfect, you're never allowed to be human. He wasn't given a name. That was the rule of the experiment. No identity, no individuality. To Bonaparte, names were dangerous because they gave people a sense of self. So Johan grew up nameless, surrounded by others, treated like numbers. Without a name, you lose more than a word. You lose the idea of who you are. That's how Johan started seeing himself as nothing, a blank space in a world that wouldn't notice if he disappeared. That emptiness became the seed of his nihilism, the belief that life had no real value, that existence itself was meaningless. When he and Anna were finally taken from the lab, their mother was forced to choose which child to give away. She pointed to Johan, but then she changed her mind and gave Anna instead. A small moment, but for Johan, it was everything. In that hesitation, he learned a truth that shaped his entire life. Even love discriminates. He realized equality is a lie. Someone will always be chosen, and someone will always be left behind. If love could turn into rejection, then morality and justice were just illusions too. And in the mind of a child who already believed he was nothing, that became his new reality. He didn't cry or beg, he just watched and accepted it. Because to him, life isn't cruel because it hurts, it's cruel because it pretends to care. Then came the book that defined him, The Nameless Monster. It begins like a fairy tale. Once upon a time, there was a monster with no name. The monster wanted one more than anything, so it split into two and set off in opposite directions. One half went east, the other west. The one who went east reached a village and met a blacksmith. "Please give me your name," the monster said. The blacksmith refused, but the monster promised, "If you let me in, I'll make you strong." The blacksmith agreed, and the monster entered him. The man became powerful, proud, shouting, "Look at me!" But the hunger grew. Munch, munch, chomp, chomp, gobble, gobble, gulp. The monster devoured him from the inside, and once again, it was nameless. It went to a shoemaker, then a hunter. Each time the same thing happened. They became stronger, but the monster's hunger always won, and every time it was left alone again, nameless and empty. One day, it reached a castle where a sick boy lived. "If you give me your name, I'll make you strong," said the monster. The boy agreed, and soon he was healthy, full of life. The king rejoiced. The monster loved this name, and loved living as the prince. For a while, it managed to control its hunger, but not forever. Eventually the boy cried and said, "Look at me, the monster inside of me has gotten this big." Then he devoured the king, the servants, everyone. The castle became silent and empty, so the boy left, wandering until he met the other half of himself, the one that had gone west. He met his other half. "I have a name," said the boy proudly, but the other replied, "Who needs a name? We are nameless monsters." The boy smiled, then ate his other half, and in the end, he was left completely alone. He had a name, but no one left to call him by it. Such a shame, because Johan was such a wonderful name. To most people, it's just a haunting story, but to Johan Liebert, it wasn't fiction, it was reflection. He saw himself in that creature, hungry for identity, devouring others just to feel real for a moment. The story didn't scare him, it completed him. It told him that being empty wasn't a curse, it was who he truly was. He began to believe that fear and control were the only ways to prove he existed. If people feared him, he was real. That idea became his purpose. The story didn't scare him, it taught him that destruction could create meaning. So Johan stopped being a child. He became an idea. By his teenage years, his mind was already set. Every act of kindness looked fake. Every belief looked selfish. To him, life wasn't tragic, it was absurd. He learned how fragile people really are, how easy it is to make them fall apart with just the right words. He didn't hurt people for pleasure, but to prove a point. If life has no meaning, then morality is just a costume. He decided to test it, showing people who they really were when their illusions collapsed. And every time, he was right. Johan didn't feel guilt, he felt clarity. In his view, life and death were equal, both natural and meaningless. He wasn't driven by rage, but by understanding. He didn't want to destroy the world, only to reveal it. That's what makes him terrifying. He doesn't shout his philosophy, he lives it. Every calm word, every subtle act of manipulation carries the same belief, that nothing really matters, and accepting that truth is the only freedom left. Johan's greatest weapon wasn't violence, it was disguise. He learned to look harmless, to become whatever people wanted him to be. To some, a kind stranger. To others, a polite friend, always trustworthy. That illusion of safety made him unstoppable. He never forced anyone to fall, he simply reflected what they wanted to see. People don't fall because they're weak, he believed. They fall because they want to believe. He didn't destroy them, he just let them destroy themselves. To him, manipulation wasn't cruelty, it was proof. A way to expose how fragile human goodness really is. He could read people like books and rewrite their endings without them noticing. The quieter he was, the more power he held. That's why destruction became his form of truth. The Kinderheim incident showed it best. Johan didn't need to act. He just set the conditions and let human nature do the rest. The result was chaos, violence, and despair, and Johan watched it unfold in silence. To him, it wasn't evil. It was honesty. When everything breaks, you see what people really are. He believed morality was a survival instinct, kindness, just self-interest dressed in nicer words. He didn't think death was punishment. He saw it as freedom, a reset for a world built on lies. His actions didn't come from hate, they came from belief. He thought that by tearing everything down, he was doing something pure. But underneath that, there was still that nameless child, unseen and unloved, who wanted to know if anyone would stop him. Johan's legacy isn't the destruction he caused, but the emptiness he left behind. Everyone who met him came out changed, not just afraid, but aware. They saw how easily the world could fall apart and how fragile people truly are. He became a mirror, forcing others to face the parts of themselves they never wanted to see. Because how do you fight someone who believes in nothing? How do you reason with someone who thinks life and death are the same thing? Johan's real power wasn't control, it was reflection. He made people question their existence. If everything can be destroyed so easily, was it ever real? That's the beauty and horror of Johan Liebert. He doesn't vanish when the story ends. He stays with you, quietly, like a thought you can't get rid of. He was born from an experiment meant to create perfection, but what he became was proof that perfection doesn't exist. Remove empathy and love, and all that's left is nothing. But maybe that's the point, because even in that darkness, his story reminds us why meaning matters at all. If someone like him can find strength in emptiness, maybe we can find purpose in creating something from it. We don't need perfect truth to keep going. It's enough to keep building, even knowing it might all fall apart. If everything lost its meaning tomorrow, what would still keep you alive? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. Drop a like, hit subscribe, and keep chasing the questions that scare you the most. Thank you for watching. Seriously.